Well, hello, and it is December 2010. In fact, it is Christmas Day. And so let's talk about the new year. Let's talk about the prediction of the new year. I've just read that Christmas shopping was better than expected. Which means what? The economy is growing. The economy is getting better. We're back on track. What does it mean? Stock markets are basically going up. Stores like Tiffany, you know, those expensive stores, making kind of almost a killing. Banks are doing better than ever. Well, let me ask you this. Would you do better than ever if I would give you 10, 20, 30, 50 million and whatever, trillions and billions of dollars? Who cares about the zeros? Because they don't seem to be meaning nothing anymore in this economy and with the government. Of course you would. And people getting more into debts, which they do with those shopping and being consuming, but yet not really, the country not producing all that much anymore, not as much as they used to, not as much as we in comparison used to, not as much as in comparison to Germany, not as much as in comparison to China and all that type of stuff. Well, let me tell you something what we are creating here. We are creating an elimination of the middle class. And who is the middle class? Oh, by the way, most big corporate glamorous, most of them have made more profit. And yet, by statistics also, most of small business owners are more struggling. We're having, I don't know what it is, 11, some 12, whatever, million people unemployed. That's the number the government gives you, not to count in it people who never worked, like new college graduates, people who, let's just say, small business owners like you and me, if we happen to go out of business, because we have never been in the workforce, so we don't count. People who have already given up looking for a job, all those people who the government is giving 3 years unemployment benefit these days. And I hope, never mind the millions of people who have a part-time job at Walmart, just to use Walmart, or a part-time job somewhere where they used to have a full-time job in engineering or whatever it might have been, making $30 an hour and now making $8 an hour. All those people do not count, all right, in that unemployment rate, okay? And we're talking about recovery. We are creating a country like I used to know it 15, 17 years back, when I used to live and work in India. Not a week, not a month, not a couple trips, but 2 years straight. Huge disparity between the rich and the poor, and very little in the middle. India's getting better in that aspect, and we're getting worse in that aspect, and that is not a good trend. The elimination of the middle class is not a good trend. Even if you happen to be part of the rich ones, it is not pleasant to walk around, super poor people sleeping on the street, children crying, children being undernourished and all that stuff. I have witnessed it, not once in India for 2 years, but also in a country like Africa where I lived for 2 years, all right? You don't want to go there. Even though, if all is even and equal, I rather prefer to be in such a country, part of the rich compared to part of the poor. Yes, I do. Okay? But here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen, it isn't good for us. So, 2011, could it be a major crash? Yes. Could we keep moving the way we kept moving, with the government injecting money and injecting money? And what does the government do with the money they inject? Do they really give it to you and me? No! They give it to banks. They buy stocks from banks. They buy stocks from large corporations, and they buy bonds. So that the big guys stay in business, because apparently when the big guys stay in business, it's all fine. And yet this country is based on the small business owner. Even today, where only the big one is too big to fail, it is still the small business owner who has 70, 80 or 90 some percent of all the people working in it. Whatever it is, whether it's 70, 80 or 90, I forgot what it is, doesn't really matter, because 70% going broke and not doing well, it's over. Okay? You and me are probably in those 70%. So, it's not good. What else is happening? Okay? What else is happening? Los Angeles Times, actually, it was just last week, wrote, experts worry experts. Experts worry about a recovery without recovering the joblessness. A jobless recovery. Experts worry about a jobless recovery. I mean, it's such a difficult sentence to pronounce and to actually talk about because when I went to high school in the pure little country of Austria, and I would have written such a sentence, they would have flunked me in construction of sentence, kind of like, wait a minute, this, you know, you got to talk real, you got to talk something which is possible to do. Well, this isn't possible. And if it is possible, then it is only possible by, I don't know, stupid people or evil people. Only stupid or evil people could possibly think that this would be possible, or that this could be, so to say, a worry. There is no recovery without the people recovering in the job. And with the people, with the government printing money and printing money, where is that going to happen? On one hand, they give it to the super rich. On the other hand, they give it to the people who don't work. Which some of you might say, well, that's good. You know, if the government calls giving people a year unemployment longer than before a stimulus package, wow. What about if you give your son money over and over? He doesn't want to work. He doesn't want to work. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to create, to produce something. Okay? What does all this mean? What could all this mean? Let me tell you what it could all mean. If there is a collapse, if the money becomes worthless, if all of a sudden, almost overnight, like in 2008, where almost overnight, no loans were available. Simply no loans were available. Almost overnight, give or take. And I was taken by it, and I lost by it. I was stupid enough to before not to check into kind of like, to really check out our situation. I was just looking at the glamour and the glitz also, okay? But what about if the government keeps, you know, printing money? Obviously, money will become worthless to a very high degree. It will go slowly like a dimmer switch. But what about if it goes faster? Because anything which goes down for a little bit, you know, dollar becoming less and less worth, it will eventually crash. When it hits here, okay, many people will be caught worse, much worse than in the 2008 crash of real estate. Because here's the thing, what most people do not know and what nobody tells you is there is a alt loans, you know, the loans which are just after 2, 3, 4, and 5 years. That loan package, there's houses out there in this relatively similar amount than the mortgages which crashed 2 years ago, and they are yet to come to crash between 2011 and 2012. Then there is the real estate market in the commercial basis. Between 2004 and 2007, almost 80% of all the real estate out there got refinanced, and the refinance usually coming due in full somewhere anything between 5 and 8 years, which would again put it somewhere 2011, 2012. At this moment, none of those real estate, commercial real estate, is able to be refinancing. The building I live in it, I mean, have my office in it. When I moved in some years ago, maybe 2 or 3 offices were empty, and now only 2 are full, and that's a almost 30,000 square foot building. Do you think that gentleman is able to refinance it? No, it's not going to happen. Of course, originally everybody thought they could refinance it, and there was nothing overall wrong with that type of thinking, and it's what it was, but it isn't going to happen. So what's going to happen when that happens? When there's another bunch of residential real estate coming due, and when there's another bunch, almost about similar amount of commercial real estate is coming due, well, the people owning the places will bite into the grass. The banks will bite into the grass, and the government will bite into the grass. By the way, there is no government. When the government bites into the grass, that means you and me biting into the grass. In one way or the other way, there will be again some adjustments, there will be again quantitative easing, and the money will become again worthless. Ladies and gentlemen, realize, houses do not become worth more. Gold prices and silver prices currently going up. Gold and silver does not become worth more. The dollar becomes worth less. The milk does not become worth more. The dollar becomes worth less. Realize that. Somewhere in the 70s, you could buy a Corvette with whatever X amount of ounces of gold. Right now, with the same ounces of gold, you can still buy a Corvette. But the same amount of dollar which that ounces of gold bought in the 70s does not buy you a Corvette anymore. All right? Somewhere in the 70s, an ounce of gold bought you a suit. It was $40, $50 or whatever it was. Anyway, 30, it doesn't really matter. It was about 30 or something, because when we got off this. But now an ounce of gold still buys you a suit. But the money an ounce of gold bought you back then, it was worth that money, does not buy you a suit. So, what does that mean? It means the dollar is devaluating, ladies and gentlemen, and anything which goes down over a longer period of time will crash. Very small companies, small organizations, households, or one guy with a little bit of money, he can go down only weeks, months, maybe a year before it crashes. Larger corporations can go down much longer. Very large can go down even longer. And governments and stuff like that, and like something like dollar can go even further. What about if the dollar is the reserve money of the world? Many people own it out there, and oil is traded in dollars. By the way, do you know that I think I saw it somewhere on I don't know where I saw it. Anyway, check it out. Check everything out, I say. Don't believe anything I say as such. Go and start doing your own little research. That's all this is supposed to be. Make you looking at like research, and not so that you become a doom gloom guy or something like that, but that you prepare yourself. There's nothing doom gloom about a guy who goes into the mountains knowing that it possibly could snow and rain and storm, and has a jacket and an anorak and is prepared. You know, the guy who doesn't do that is stupid. The guy who doesn't is not a doom gloom. He's just smart. He's just wise, basically. All right. But check it out. But anyway, Russia and China apparently made a pact that they will be trading amongst them in their own money, not anymore in dollar. They will not invoice themselves with dollar anymore. How much of that is happening and already, I don't know, but that's what they're saying. What about if the Arabic world, which sells oil, decides and says, you know, we don't want the dollar anymore? You know, because actually there are no regulations, which, I mean, it looks like there are regulations, but the truth of the matter is, anybody can renege them very fast. All they say is, you want oil? Give me dollar. I mean, give me yen, give me Japanese money, maybe euro, probably not, but maybe. Give me gold. Give me something else than American dollar, because I don't like what the American government is doing with the dollar. They want to make it less worth and then pay me back with worthless money, the money I owe. Ain't happening. Okay? Maybe Mr. Bernanke thinks that devaluing the dollar makes us buying more from our own country, you know. Well, first of all, other countries will devalue their dollar or their money, and that doesn't help us. You know, like, oh, if everybody goes down, then I guess we're just as fine. No, we won't. Okay, we won't at all. In fact, then the crisis will be worldwide. Maybe that's what they want. Maybe they want such a big crisis that they can say, see, we gotta have a world economy, like the Europe, you know, went together to the euro, and now maybe we should be matching euro and dollar and the Mexican money and all that stuff. What do I know? Okay. I don't have lunch with those guys on a daily basis. I don't know. Are they just not knowing what they're doing? Or do they have a plan? But if they have a plan, it isn't a plan which includes you and me surviving well. So you need to go on and become your own survivor. How do you do that? It's actually relatively simple, despite the fact that it will be hard if all that shit happens. And I'm the first one who doesn't want my house to go more down in value and have harder time selling you doctors and whatever it is. No. But there's a difference what you want and what possibly might happen.